KALASK!
Hey, greetings, KALASK. Welcome.
Great, right, yes. Welcome as well. We're aware there are a number of individuals currently there are certain interest in communicating with either us or cancer. Let's start with addressing the elephant or Brontosaurus or perhaps the virus in the room, right? Your current corona infection. Now, what we say previously, considering an incoming world wars up on the plate here, remember, we are necessarily seeing tanks rolling or airplanes flying, we are seeing energy moving, and what you're currently experiencing with your infectious ideas is also releasing some form of energy in the direction coming from the eastwards and spreading out from there on. So therefore, this to a large degree is also certain energetic release, which does not mean that this will avert any further warlike scenarios. However, it might take some heat off as you release the energy this manner. However, you, or rather the planet, is releasing energy. This is one version of releasing energy, but there are still a lot more, and it's very unlikely the virus alone will release all of it, unless the vast majority of your population will get infected. Currently not very likely, but it's possible. Now, the main point is there needs to be energetic release, and that's just taking the lid off. However, more specific, this virus is not what you're considering natural, so your official version is not quite correct. There's been an idea that it was an attack on China and Iran from Western powers in the sense that it was engineered to attack those countries, particularly with biological warfare. This isn't correct either. The truth lies somewhere else. The idea that this virus was indeed engineered as a weapon of war, or in the very region it got released on, so the release itself was an accident from the human error's lucky perspective, but the engineering of the virus was not an accident. It didn't just happen by chance, it was engineered intentionally, but it was not intentionally released in terms of infecting humans in the area where it occurred first. Now, this is the more detailed version of what happened. Now, for a larger scheme, the idea obviously is everything happens for a reason, everything is connected, just as one group of people that does something to the rest of your plan. Where maybe you will have those concepts you're considering conspiracy theories, right? And yes, most of them are based in the reality to some degree. However, there is still one group of people on Earth that's all powerful, and very often what happens is still up to higher powers, they're calling such, and those peoples that are what you're considering conspiring in one part of your plan or another one, as there are numerous groups of your plan that are conspiring against each other, right? And all of those really are still operating under the same confinement of the current third, fourth dimensional reality you all live under. So there are certain forces that are more powerful in groups that does one thing or the other. So when something like this happens, it happens for a reason, even if some person decides to do this. In other words, if someone gets shot, right, then there's still a person pulling the trigger to shoot the other person, but the other person also was willing to die on something that otherwise wouldn't happen. The same applies collectively. So in this case, the idea simply means it's also a energetic release. Your players also do some degree fighting back with your changes of certain environmental conditions, and yes, this also of course includes a widespread of such a scenario. Now, does it mean your entire species will go extinct? Very, very unlikely. Does it mean you're going to have more people? Yes, also very, very likely. Now, we're saying or sharing anything to panic you or to calm you down. We're just sharing information. We're aware your speech is very hectic and confused anyway, but we're also aware that some individuals voice some concern about this, or we would think, or this our perspective quite simply summed up. Also remember, your planet is overpopulated, so either you have to relocate to another world to some degree, you could terraform to parts of Moon, Mars, perhaps Venus not so easily, as it's very high in containing of certain gases like carbon dioxide that's not very praisable by your species, but there have been people of your world, or rather those that are currently on your world, some related to entities that have lived there, in what you would call a past, so it will be possible to get it back to a pristine condition, perhaps with the help of those that originally inhabited it. However, very much not on the plate right now in terms of where you currently are as species. So, for example, you could also relocate underground, but then again, you will also have to ratchet, create tunnels. Remember, your planet isn't entirely hollow, as some people suggest, but there are certainly cavern systems, so you could relocate to some degree, but there's not much effort being done except elites going down under, not Australia, they're right here underground, and not so much relocation of larger population, so therefore population control is likely your best scenario, especially in overpopulated areas such as Africa or India or indeed China, where you can see many of those viruses are also cropping up. And just because some of them are engineered doesn't mean that it's all by one group of people that are doing everything against the population or for the population or whatever the fuck. There are still energies in charge, and individuals, no matter how powerful they seem to be, have to adhere to energy. So even if there's such an outbreak, environmental disasters, etc., even if there are some hardware involved or engineering to some degree, from the greater scheme of things, still everything has to happen in accordance with energy that's present, whether it's war, conflict, or in this case, an epidemic, as they are calling such. Now, as we're aware, it's a certainly heated topic. We don't consider it too much of a big degree, considering some other appeals you're carrying on your planet currently, but either way, energy is playing out. Is there any other particular question on this topic before we would hop on to something else?
Hey, KALASK, this was the main question or the main topic that I wanted to ask you about today. The only thing I'm still wondering about is, like, what do you predict will happen with the virus? I mean, do you expect it to, kill millions of people, or I mean, so far it's killed about 3,000. Like, how many people do you expect it to kill?
Well, we're having numbers, but we're still expecting it to infect many, many more people. Or your species could, for example, adapt to the virus, so it would become something like another, the flu, right? It would just become like another flu. This year I have corona again. It's so annoying, That could happen. One option. It depends how well your body would adapt. We would easily do so, or if something similar scenario would occur, we're not quite as familiar with your fragile forms, yours. We're obviously speaking through a vessel right now, so there is a certain understanding. However, it's likely not at the top yet. It will likely infect many more, and it will likely get much bigger than it currently is in terms of how it affects your economy. Your economy could experience a further setback, but also more than to panic than anything else. Now, doesn't mean because it infects a lot of people have to die. Not necessarily. Again, if your species is capable of adapting, even though a lot of people would infect it, would have much of a detrimental effect on your populace. But even if it would kill, and where you're standing, your individuals would be scared. But for a bigger scheme of things, it would be not too bad if you would lose a few tens or even hundreds of million people. Not that likely to happen currently. Likely there will be more of such events happening in terms of infections, and yes, also, perhaps your springtime, there could be the widest spread of your current environmental condition in terms of where it gets it, where it doesn't. Again, we can't give you a number exactly because it depends how your species adapts to the virus, and again, we're just really your current time that you're currently on. Now, obviously, people are engineering a counter agent, right? However, there could also be the attempt to implement some further control by forcing people to get a certain vaccination, also put certain substances in your physical form that makes you easier susceptible to something else. There's a larger pool of options that could happen. What we see the greatest likelihood that many more people will get infected, but not necessarily that a lot would die from it compared to perhaps your other diseases here in your world, like the Spanish flu, for example, right? Not necessarily to such a large degree, but it is at least a possibility comparatively. So we are comparing giving you numbers, but compared to other diseases, not as bad. Very, very unlikely it would be as bad as the Black Plague, right? Not to that degree. Versus Ebola, possibly, yes. again, we compare to the Spanish flu, but then again, not necessarily numbers, more in percentage of the population. It all depends how well your body will adapt to it. We don't see it getting stopped anytime soon, but there are years perhaps you can adapt to it, and then your bodies will have an easier time living with having corona, getting rid of it again, more comparable to the average flu. Also, if it does kill people, it will likely be the weak, so perhaps not that bad for your overall species. We would welcome it from our perspective. We are aware we have more of an emotional attachment to an individual member of your species, and we don't share in such a matter. However, overall, we are certain your species will survive this infection, even if the majority would be under the influence of this virus.
Okay, cool.